Actually, I really like the way you mentioned that you can't expect people to come to you. You have to go to these specific communities. And as a Canadian immigrant, I've seen that there are community groups out there that have historically been disenfranchised. They feel alienated, and it's hard for them to. They think they're outside the mainstream. So, what kind of tactics or strategies do you recommend engaging with people from those sort of backgrounds?
It's really about opportunity and ensuring that everyone in our communities has the opportunity to do great and to succeed. The challenge with politics as it reaches out to different ethnic groups is that you can run the risk of serious tokenism. So I happen to be, this might surprise you, I happen to be good friends with Jason Kenney. I think Jason Kenney is a terrific politician, exactly the kind of person we want to have in politics. Made a terrible mistake on temporary foreign workers, but we all make mistakes. But he spends all of his time, every single night, out at different ethnic events. The man can say, hello, welcome in every language known to man. And it's a good thing that he's doing all this outreach. But as we heard from Mr. Williamson's comments, the outreach is kind of cynical because it's about tokenism. It's really about looking good in different kinds of turbans, right? Instead of really looking at how to engage people more deeply into the mechanisms by which we are governed. And that's a hard one because on my own council, okay, Calgary's an incredibly ethnically diverse city, as you can imagine. On my own council, I am, if I'm counting correctly, the 4th non-white council member ever. And part of that is because we don't have political parties at the municipal level, so you have to be able to attract enough of a campaign with yourself as an individual, fundraising and volunteers to be able to run. The political parties make it easier for people to run, but they also make it easier to throw people into these tokenistic things where in my neighborhood, which is a very ethnically diverse neighborhood in Calgary, it's always, the Sikh candidate running against the Muslim candidate, running against the Hindu candidate. For the white people, they're all brown. For John Williamson, all brown. But actually different. And the parties always think, I've got the Sikh candidate and there are more Sikhs in the neighborhood than there are Muslims, therefore I'm going to win. The voters don't think that way. Once they're in the privacy of the polling booth, they vote in different ways, and I think that our political parties haven't quite figured that out yet. And, for me, when I ran, the issue of my ethnicity and my religion came up almost never during the campaign. It came up once, and the Calgary Herald got more phone calls to their newsroom on that story than on anything else they ran during that election. And basically everyone was very angry and said, why do we care what he looks like or where he goes to worship? We want to know what he thinks about transit. Now, the minute that I was elected, I suddenly became super famous. I was Time Magazine, CNN, Al Jazeera, and it was only because, not even of my ethnicity, it was only because of my religious faith. That was all people cared about. And I had a choice at that time. I could have just not done any of those interviews. But I decided to do it precisely to tell the story of how if you create a truly pluralistic and meritocratic community, nobody cares. And I'm not saying be colorblind. I'm very proud of my background. I'm very proud of my heritage. It's part of who I am. And I'm not just, culturally Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim. But the fact that I can be both that and a committed public servant who speaks for the whole community, the fact that I, as a straight man who everyone thinks is gay, will be at the front of the Pride Parade, but I don't care, right? The fact that I can do that and be at the front of the Pride Parade, speaking out for everyone in the community is a big deal. When I did that, when I went to the front of that Pride Parade, first time a mayor had ever done that, people were like, that took such great courage. How did he do that? And I was like, they asked me to go, and I was free that weekend, so I went. And I got so many phone calls in my office, and you know what? Not one negative call. The most common call, as a matter of fact, was from someone who called and said, I don't like those gays, but he's got to be the mayor for everybody, so good for him for doing that.